So here on our farm we have maybe about a half acre of woodland orchard type, and here is one of our first apple trees, and there's still lots of apples on the trees. You can pick them off, but they're a bit small and not quite ready. Carry through here, we've got another nice big small apple tree, and then this one here blew down in a storm. On this tree here we've got some nice big apples. Break those off, now you can see the size difference. And then round the back here then we've got even more trees. This one I planted last year and it's gotten pretty big already because they're kind of exposed around here and they tend to get blown down. This is another apple tree. This one I think was an eating apple tree, and there's still a few apples on our eye up there, nice and red. And we've got another apple tree here, then more apple trees here, here and here. That one's still full. Problem is, as you can tell, it's a bit wild out here. That's just because everything falls and then there's tons of grass. So you can trim under the trees best you can, but it all just grows back incredibly quick because it's such fertile soil. So we can ever only hope to harvest maybe half of the apples. The rest just fall to the ground and rot. But it's fine because it all goes back into the soil. As you can see here, they're all just kicking about, lying around. So we only ever maybe pick up the half of them. So this year I've collected just a few more apples to make the cider, and this is all of them. Quite a few boxes, and they're all filled one layer of apples, because if you stack up the apples on top of each other they tend to rub and rot quicker. So this way they can aerate and all, and they won't rot. But before we can get to utilising all these lovely apples, they all need a good wash down. And the easiest way to do that is to fill a big barrel of water and then dump them all in. Now it mightn't actually look it, but I did actually sterilise this big barrel just so that the cleaning actually gets done. There's one, 2, 3. So as you can see, about 95% of our apples are these here green ones. We grow big ones and wee ones. You get wee ones about this size, and then you get the odd big massive one like this. These are mostly used for cooking, but for cider they're completely fine. But we also have a few eating trees such as these, and these you can eat. They're very nice, but the odd one is just a bit bitter or sour, but when it all mixed together you wouldn't know the difference. It's a very crude but effective way of washing the apples. Dump them in, bucket of water, barrel of water, and then you just slosh them about and it gets rid of the dirt and the leaves. Once you've finished sloshing, just take out a big wallop. There you go. Now the problem with having an orchard, like any fruit, they don't all bloom or bud or grow or fall all at the same time. So when I put them in these boxes, they're maybe a few days apart, so I do a day a box or a box a day, but you lay them out flat and that tries to prevent the rot, if any, spreading. So if we look at this box in the corner here, we've got a bit of a wee rotten one, so we'll chuck it out. And here's another rotten squishy one, and these all look pretty good. There's another rotten one. So I can just put these in to wash, but when I'm taking them out there's always a few that you didn't notice before that you'll notice that are rotten. And that's the other good thing about washing them, you can further pick them apart. So I've just lifted this box out from washing, and if you take a wee dig through, there's ones you'll notice, like this one here, we didn't pick out before because didn't know it was rotten, but now you do. And take a wee scrumble through. That's just a wee bad spot, but the rest of it's fine. Dig through. Solid, solid. If they're squishy, then you know they're really bad. And yeah, these mostly all seem good. And so here we have it. I've got everything set up. All of the apples brought in after being washed and dried. A table where I can chop them up, put them in the grinder, and then they'll fall in to the big barrel, which I have once again sterilised because the water that I washed them in was very dirty. So this is my grinder setup, and this grinder is based off of, well, it's a carbon copy of Matthias Wandel's grinder, and it's a carbon copy, but it's not exactly the same because I didn't pay for his plans. I just took a look at it and thought I liked the idea. So I made a previous video where it was originally, I had it hand cranked, but there was just too much torque and the crank snapped, and it also took ages, so I motorized it. But there are basically three main components, that's all you need to know. There's a motor that powers it, then you have the drum in the middle with stainless steel screws at an angle which shred the apples, and then you have the chute which goes on top and the arm presses the apples in. So by that, chuck in the apple, gets shredded, falls into the barrel below. Easy peasy. In my kitchen setup here, I also have this here HVLP extractor, and that'll do the job to suck all the air out. So I'm just about nearly ready to get going, and as you can see I have some sunflower oil here, and I just need to oil up all the components that are going to be in contact with the apples. So we've got the main drum, just put on some oil and then you just rub it in by hand, and this just stops it soaking up the apple juice and instead makes it nice and slippery. And yeah. Also need to oil the inside of the chute box because the apples are going to be pressing against it. Now on this here I put wooden bearings because they work better with moisture, they have low coefficient of friction, and they work incredibly well at slow speeds. So you just put a wee dab of oil, then we indent as such, and then give it a spin, and we'll leave that for a wee minute. The block will soak up most of the oil and then you can just top it up. And with the bearings lubed up, you can actually see how well it spins. You can also see how off-center this is, but that actually kind of slightly is a good thing because it means the apples are moving side to side instead of just sitting stationary. Smooth. Everything's calibrated, set up, clamped down. Now I just need to switch her on. There we go, rumbling nicely. Now she runs nice and quiet because it's only a wee 1/4 horsepower induction motor, and you can see there's a bit of wobble on the pulley which creates vibrations, but that's alright. Most important thing is, in here you can see the drum of death. Let's begin. Chop double. So I've run a whole bunch of apples just to see how the machine is running, and it's all running perfectly fine, but we're having the same issue that we had last year when we ran it, and that's the fact, because this is a cylinder and it spins, it's, instead of the apples just dropping out nicely into the barrel, instead they're getting flicked at about this angle here. So the most of it is hitting the barrel, falling down in, that's fine, but some of it is hitting the table, and some of it has even gone past out, and this is only going to get more and more messy. So currently I have it sitting on this here block to have it level, but my thought is if I tilt it so that it's sitting like this, instead of flinging the apple out in that shape, it'll fling it out more down. So I'm going to take out this block, that'll lean it a bit like that, and then we'll see if that solves the issue. If you can see now, most of it's falling straight down, but some of it's getting flung, but the angle isn't so big anymore, so it's all going inside the barrel. Spot on. Wheel of death in there. It's a bit hard one-handed. Let's see. Comes out slowly but surely. All builds up. There we go, just been running here casually. She's been idling along lovely, And there we go. That's what we've got already. Probably a good 2 litres in there at least. And that's just from half a crate. Now we've got 19 full crates to go. After many literal hours, I'm on the last crate, all done. Turns out there are actually quite a few rotten ones, but I didn't know until I cut them open. Also cut my finger, that's fine. Good thing I'm on the last crate because the tub is getting pretty full. There's not much room left in there, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to move because it's very heavy. But let's finish up. Last ones. Oh, there we go. Quick crush. That's it. That's me. I'm out. By golly, 4 hours of this does not treat you well, but it's worth it for the haul. Another downside is cleanup. Cleanup is an absolute pain, because it's all sticky bits of apple and stuff. So it's like 11 o'clock right now in the evening because I've been at it all this afternoon and I've been taking breaks because it's hard to endure. So I'll not clean it till tomorrow. I'll get the most of it off and then I'll just clean it tomorrow. So I've cleaned all my dirty parts of apple, and the shredder grinder thingy is ready to go poof away into storage. And as you can see, getting ready for the next stage. So the next stage of the process is the press, and this is our press. We bought this one online and it looks really grimy and disgusting, but I have cleaned it extensively, and that's just the way it is because the wood is stained from our previous years of use. This shape may or may not look familiar, but all presses perform the same function. You take the apple mushy grindy stuff, you take a handful of it, you dump it into your press, and some sort of shape confines it so that it can't escape, and then you apply force on top, squeeze the mush, and all the juice pours out. And the way that does this is this has a big screw, you put everything in, put on some blocks of wood, and it squeezes it down, just pours out, and you catch it. So all have the same effect. Now, in order to filter out the largest particles of apple mushiness, I have a filter bag here, and there's a special hole in it that goes over the bar as such, so that you can put the bag in the whole way, and it should just fall down in as such, and then you just strap it over the edges. And now we can fill it up with our apple mush. So you just take a big scoop, and the juice will actually have settled naturally in the bottom to the bottom of this, so this stuff at the top will be the driest, but it's pretty easy. You just dump it in and you just fill it right up. Really doesn't look nice at the moment, but the juice that comes out is surprisingly pure. So I've got the press pretty full. You don't want it too full, but then you also don't want to compact it too much by hand. So I have it nice and full. As you can see, juice is already running out just because of the weight pushing down on it. Now we get to the fun part. So take these semicircles plop them on like this. One there, and it's a semicircle, so there's two of them to make a circle. And that means just need to center the circle, give her a bash so that it fits as such. There's semicircles in place. We're going to put on some big blocks just to distribute the weight a bit. And bugger, I think I've actually made them too big. So, instead of using those ones, we use the wee ones first. And these are just going to distribute the weight. Then we can put on main cap and screw on this cast piece. So screwed it down by hand just to the point where it's tight enough that you can start to feel a bit of resistance. And there's already just flowing out, but you can add in the bar, just spin it, and very easily crush down the apples. Very easily, like look, pinky finger, going round. Super easy to start with. Already got at least a litre flowing out, and we've barely even started. We've only just started, but we've already run into an issue. We've got so low, the bar now hits the top rim, and this is the fatal flaw of this machine. So now what we need to do is untighten it or loosen it, take the whole thing off and put some big more tall blocks in. Put my new big blocks in. It's actually fit if you put them sideways. As such, that gives us a good bit of extra height. And once again, it's flowing out. You can see it amp up as I turn it. So I'm going to call it quits for this load. That's about as much juice as you can hope to get. You can get a wee bit more if you keep going, but it's pretty stiff at this point, and I really don't want to break it. And the pressure is so high that the pieces of apple inside will fit through this tiny gap and will just explode and squirt juice out at a high velocity. So there's a lot of force, and that remaining juice would be quite difficult to get. Could get it, but that's enough for me, considering the amount I've still got to do. There we go. See how well it was compacted by the fact it's just formed a giant circular brick, and it's just staying in that shape. That's how solid it is. Whoa. Just working away. I'm on my third press worth of apples, and I've already filled up one big massive bucket. So I've got another 2 buckets ready to go because I still have all of this to do, and that is like 70% juice. Never mind these furry bits, that's just nature doing its thing. I have quite literally scraped the bottom of the barrel, and so far this stuff at the bottom is so juicy, it's about 70% juice, that I've already filled 1 saucepan, 2 saucepans, and I haven't even started pressing it yet. So this one is going to be very ludicrous indeed. Woo! The other advantage to using this barrel, still dribbling away, is that we can visualize how much juice we've actually got. So as you can see, the barrel's maybe 1/3 full, yeah? So if you remember, the barrel was almost full of all the shredded apples, and now we're left with just the juice at 1/3 of that volume. So it's a pretty efficient process. You're just left with these dried pancakes of apple shreds all crushed together. If you know me, you know I don't believe in waste products. So here we have the cows enjoying the big cake apples. So yep, they're loving them, and it'll come out the other side as milk. That's what I'm anticipating, not poo, milk. All those nutrients and good stuff. Now you'd probably think that because apples are like full of sugar and goodness and all, they wouldn't need that much, but we're just going to add just a wee tiny bit of granulated diabetes, just a wee bit. And it's actually, you can see all the bubbles, maybe you can't from the angle, but we're just going to add a little bit of sugar, maybe about, maybe a wee bit more. I think we need a wee bit more, just a wee bit more. Maybe a wee bit more again, you know. You just want to play it on the safe side. We might need a wee bit more, but I think that'll do for now. Now this is a pretty rough estimate, but I made some last year with a ratio of 1 kilogram to 20-ish litres, and it tasted fine, tastes fine still, so that's what I've gone with this year. 1 kilogram to roughly every 20 litres. Now this year's crop is currently just regular apple juice, but if you wait about a year you will end up with some of this, and this is the 2022 vintage, which was made in, what was it, November, December last year, and it is some good stuff, I must say. Been drinking it for the past 6 months or so. It's really nice to drink from about 6 months, and as you go on from there it just gets better and better. But sadly I don't have a alcoholometer, which is test the percentage of alcohol, and nor do I have a scale to tell you how good it is, but instead I can just drink it, smile and tell you, oh boy, it's good. So thank you for watching, and at the moment, as I said, it's just apple juice. It is strong stuff, I must say, not for the weak-hearted. But in about 3 months it'll be ready to filter and bottle, and there'll be a video on it then. Oh, it is really good stuff. It's strong, it gives you a kick.